Hello, the official start of the first Robinwood Flowers virtual flower class. We wish we could be meeting in person, but obviously we can't. Hopefully you're with a friend, at least one, and we will see how this goes, and if it goes smoothly, we will try to do another class at Christmas. I know the Christmas classes are always really popular with all the evergreens and berries and so forth. So this is the first time. We're just asking for your patience if we have any technical issues, but we will try to just keep this rolling. Let's see, I have a couple of notes, and I will put on my glasses for these. Again, we're so happy to partner with Boards and Bees. If you got a charcuterie platter, they are so wonderful. I saw that we had one in the refrigerator, so we'll be enjoying that in a little while. We really miss our classes, and of course there are a lot of things that we're missing right now, but we feel very grateful that we're able to continue on with our flowers, and we've had a lot of wonderful support from our customers, and a lot of people are sending flowers and receiving flowers, and we're just really happy that we're able to help with that. Tonight, let's see, we have the bucket of flowers, which hopefully is nearby. We have your small bubble bowl that has angel vine inside, which is a wonderful, it's like a flower frog, and it holds the stems in place. Also some tape on the top. We don't really have to have the tape when you have the angel vine, but we did it just for safekeeping. People's flowers don't flip out. Hopefully you have your scissors handy, your scissors, or the ones that you own. And if you have any tech issues, again, that you can't seem to resolve, you can call us at 484-8984. We have a cell phone across the room, and if you can't make the picture work or something. And then if you have any questions about what we're doing with the flowers, type in your question, and it's in the comments bar below the video, and we will try to get to those after we're done, or if it's a critical issue, we'll try to get to it sooner than that. We have some of the last local flowers this evening from Little Creek Valley, which is one of our flower growers up near Columbus, and also from Tammy at Mockingbird Hill Farm. She grows these beautiful dahlias, which will disappear with the first frost. So, among other things in your bucket, here are the dahlias. We'll show you those. And we have ageratum to give a little blue to all these pretty peaches and oranges. Ageratum, which you can grow in your own yard. We have really pretty lysianthus in a pinkish, kind of coralish color. Lysianthus is wonderful, especially with these buds, because they give the arrangement movement. We also have free spirit roses. And that is this fabulous rose. It's just a wonderful, fluffy, one of our favorite roses. We have a little bit of Queen Anne's lace here. This is the Queen Anne's lace. I hope you can see this. And we have Veronica, white Veronica, which also is just an interesting texture. And I think that may be it. Zinnias, a couple of zinnias, but the zinnias were kind of going off crop, so they need that hot summer sun to grow well. In our greens, we have salal, and we have salal is this for anyone who hasn't taken our classes before. It's this nice wide leaf. We have ruscus, which is, I'm not sure I have a piece of ruscus in my bucket. If you could grab me one, that would be, oh no, I do, sorry, it just wasn't tall. Got it, right here. This is ruscus, and it's wonderful. You can cut it up into pieces and use it about 3 times. So we'll show you how to do that as well. And we have some seeded eucalyptus, which is here. Getting to know our flowers. Alrighty, so I think that we can get started if everybody's ready. We think, and if you've had our class many times before, you've heard this little speech before, but we think that greening is really, really important for an arrangement. And so when we do the greening, we try to make sure that it looks nice in the vase before the flowers ever go in. And so we're going to use this salal, and we're going to put it, always put everything in at an angle, at about a 45-degree angle, and so it'll start to fill out. The first few you put in, you think they're going to fall out, but they're not. So we can cut these up into smaller pieces. So I'm going to cut off this little side shoot, and actually I'm going to cut off this one as well. And then we're going to put that in again at a 45-degree angle. We'll keep doing that with the rest of the greens that we have. Some of these are a little bushy, and so we're going to try to cut them up a little bit so that we don't have a giant forest in the bowl. Okay. You can take off any that look like the bugs have gotten to them, or the critters wherever these are grown. So you can see that this is starting to fill out a bit. I'm going to continue on with just one kind of green, and then we can go on to the next green. Let's see, here's one more. Salal. Some people call this lemon leaf. So that will go in there. If you keep turning your bowl, every time you put something in, it will turn out into a round shape. Otherwise it might get lopsided, lumpy. So I'm going to see if I have any other. These are all a little bit short to put in, but I'll put one more in there, just like that. Then I'm going to take the ruscus, and this is nice because it gives it a whole different texture. And so I'm going to cut it. If you prune a tree, you know, you get right next to the length of the tree so that there's nothing sticking out. And I'm going to take off those, leave this one longer, see it has a nice stem, and put it in the water. This one we can just keep cutting down until we have about 3 pieces. I'm going to make sure that there's no unsightly stump there. So we'll do that. Again, take off the ones that might be below the water, because we don't really want a lot of leaves under the water. Turn it, put it about 1/3 of the way around, and then we are going to do the final piece.
Can you tell them how tall will this arrangement be?
This arrangement is going to be low enough to see over if you put it on a table. And the way we know that it's going to be low enough to see over is the old elbow test, where if you put your elbow on a table, make a fist, if it falls below that, you'll be able to see over it at a dinner table and talk to the person across from you. So after the ruscus, we're going to put in the seeded eucalyptus. Just take the ones off that will be below the water line. And usually there are different little sections of this too, so just keep. And I think that is it for the greens. So, oh, here's another piece of salal, good. One more piece. In there. Okay, so when you're done with the greening, I would love for you to stop and take a look at your greening job and turn it. Make sure that it isn't lumpy on one side or all. Try to make sure that the little pieces of ruscus are they're like little butterflies coming out at different parts. And so that looks pretty well proportioned at this point. Okay. So when we get started with the flowers, I like to start with the bigger flowers. Some people do it differently, and there's no real reason, but I think that the bigger flowers kind of anchor the arrangement. And so if I had a hydrangea, maybe I'd put that in, because that's a focal flower. And the focal flowers are the big ones that people's eyes are going to go right to, like this big luscious dahlia. That's a focal flower. This is what's really called a filler flower, but not in the bad sense. It's just smaller. It's filling in color. It's filling in texture. There are some fillers that we don't really use because they're kind of throwaway fillers. I'm not crazy about goldenrod or those things that, I mean, I like it in its place in a meadow, but I don't like it in flowers especially. And this is Queen Anne's lace, and there are two different varieties. I think you've got two different varieties. One is white, and one is kind of a purplish. And so we're using both of them tonight. People have asked, since you see this growing along the road, is it, can you stop and pick that? And you can, but it doesn't hold up. The wild Queen Anne's lace doesn't seem to hold up as well as the cultivated. This has a stronger stem, and I don't know. I've picked the other kind and just sort of wilts in the vase.
Sorry, you're missing something.
Oh, my wine. Why, thank you. You must think I need to join the...
They're all drinking at home.
They're all drinking at home. Cheers. I hope everybody is healthy and doing the best they can during these difficult times. And we're so glad you're with us. Okay. Here is, so I'm going to put in the dahlias first. These are the really wonderful flowers that, and I love buds. So if you can possibly keep a bud on the flower, again, think of that 45-degree angle. Never put in, very rarely, I should never say never, but don't put something in straight up and down. Maybe at the very end, if you have a big hole in the middle, you could put something that way, but start out everything going in at a 45-degree angle. So that's the gorgeous dahlia. We have another dahlia, I believe, in here. Here it is. That's it. There are lots of different kinds of dahlias. There are some that are ball-shaped. There's some that are kind of flat. There's some that, there's some that are this big around, like dinner plate dahlias. I'm going to cut off this bud and use it as an accent and not just cram it in with the other dahlia. So we'll try to, I'm not going to put them exactly opposite each other because that might look a little too planned. So I'm just going to put it in at a slightly different level. I'm going to put it a little bit more in the middle and take the bud, give it a fresh cut, and put it over there.
Someone asked you to slow down a bit.
Okay.
That might be their personal opinion, but maybe you could say, we'll review at the end.
We will review at the end, yes. I know that some people are just getting started. Maybe this will help me slow down. I'll have another sip of wine. Just kidding. Okay, another focal flower is this gorgeous free spirit rose. Look how big it is. I mean, there are roses and there are roses. And people say, well, can't I just go to a supermarket and get my roses? And yes, you can, if you only want them to last for a day or two, because generally they have more age on them than we go to the market every day and get flowers. So if you have roses and you just want to get a bunch quickly with your groceries, try to feel them and see how they have little hips there. Make sure that there's some firmness to the center of the rose. You don't want it to be all squishy and soft because that means it's just going to either fall apart or open up, and so you don't want it too hard because they don't open, just those bullet roses we call them. So this is nice and open, but it still has some firmness. And so even though if you receive a rose like this and you may think it's so open, it's not right. Well, it is right because it's been cut at just the right time so that you have the beautiful openness, but it still has firmness, so it's going to last. This will last a week. So this is our third focal flower. And again, you don't have to measure it exactly around. We're just sort of getting started. You can move things around if you want later. I think that we have, some people have slightly different buckets. So if I say my third rose and you only have 2 roses, it means you got something else that somebody else didn't get. So I like to take off the guard petals of the flowers. And these are the petals that enclose the bud when they're first growing. And they've been kind of beaten up and they've traveled all the way from Ecuador. And so I like to look around and just make sure that all of the petals are in good shape around. And if you want it to open up a little more, you can take your little finger and just kind of do this and just very gently open it up. Then you can give it a little breath, and it should open up a little more. That's one of them. And I actually have another rose, so I'm going to...
Repeat the name of the roses again.
The names of the roses. This is a Free Spirit rose, this orange one. It has pink along the edges and yellow kind of in the center and orange in the middle. And this rose is called Tiffany, and it's a peach rose. So it's a slightly different one. I'm going to put that a little bit closer to the center. Then I want to see what else we have here. I think I'll put the zinnias in next. As I said, the zinnias really aren't looking their very best. When we decided on this arrangement, the zinnias were going crazy about 2 or 3 weeks ago when it was 95 degrees. And now that it's cooling off, we're about to see the last of the zinnias, but they're still special. So we're going to put him, see how it's sort of draping over the edge? Then we're going to take another, here's another zinnia. I'm taking the leaves off on the side because zinnia leaves are nothing to boast about. They're just sort of, sometimes I've never had any luck growing them. They always get mildew.
Question.
Yes.
Is there a rule of thumb for how long you should be cutting the focal flowers?
No, I think that one way when you're
Repeat that question.
okay, is there a rule about how long to cut the flowers, especially the focal flowers? And I think that what you can do at the beginning when you're just learning, you sort of get to know, I can just sort of know because, you know, I've done it 10,000 times. But if you aren't quite sure, it's a better bet to cut them too long than too short, because obviously if you cut it too short, it's like hair. You can't make it grow back. So if I took this, well, here's a zinnia. You can always hold it up next to the vase and see, okay, well, this is too tall, so I'll take this off and see how that goes. Since you're putting it in an angle, if you want it to be kind of swooping out, that looks great. If you want it to be a little more compact, then I would cut a little more off. There is sort of a fashion in art flowers now to have things like, ooh, coming out and dripping onto the table and so forth. We're not going to get started with that quite yet. So I don't mind this coming out, but you know what? I'll make the final judgment once it's all done. And I can always cut it down, but I can't make it grow again. So if you need to, like, here's a Lisianthus. This has so many different parts of it, and we can use most of them. And there are lots of side shoots. So what I'm going to do is break off this side shoot, give it a fresh cut, and put it in. I think these, I'm going to show you the, well, you have a Lisianthus, but the inside of it is kind of black. I just think that is such a beautiful, beautiful flower. Now we can find other, we can just cut them all separately. And this one, we're going to cut it longer. It's missing its little bud up here, so I'm just going to take the scissors and cut it down there so you can't really see where the cut is. If it had a bud, I'd leave it. Like this one has a bud. And it also has a cut stem. So the scissors that you have are well, the ones that, if you bought them from us, they're very sharp. And you can, and hopefully the ones you have at home are as well. I'm going to cut this bud off, use it again, cut this. I'm going to turn the arrangement to see where it's needed the most. Then I'm going to take the bud and use it again as just a little accent. So we're going to just put that up here. And it just gives it a natural look. And that's where the flower came from. So I have a couple more in here, but I think I'm going to use those later. This is a Queen Anne's lace. This is the white one. This isn't the star of the show. This isn't a focal flower. This is just a nice kind of soft textural flower that kind of looks like summer, and I'm gonna put that there. Sometimes the leaves get sort of turned around upside down. That's what this one is doing, so I'm gonna turn it around. They're pretty malleable, so you can just kind of turn it around like that. I'm gonna use the other Queen Anne's lace, the one that's kind of purpley. Picking off the... Well, yeah, if you got to. Otherwise, if you didn't, you got something else. So, just gonna put that there. Use just one of these, I think. Now, I want enough stem for the flower, so I'm going to cut these side things off very close to the stem. And put it in. Okay, so again, turn the arrangement. Practically every time you put something in it, turn it. So you can see what you need, where, and is it still pretty well balanced. You don't need to make it the same on every side, and it doesn't have to look the same on one side as it does on the other. It just needs to be balanced. You just don't want to look at it and say, something's wrong, something's off. What is it? Probably because it's balanced. If you put one giant flower over here, you could put 3 small ones here, and it would be balanced. It wouldn't match, the sides wouldn't match, but it would be balanced. Okay, so here's another bud. I just love these buds. We have Veronica, and Veronica is just, you know, it's not a focal flower, it's just an accent flower. Has that pretty little, it looks a lot like Lysomachia, which is, what is Lysomachia? It looks just like this, and I planted a couple of plants in my garden a few years ago, and I thought, oh, that's a pretty flower. It's really, really invasive. And it just like took over a whole corner of the garden. Loosestrife, thank you, loosestrife. Yeah, don't buy anything called loosestrife because it will take over your garden. Okay, so we're just putting that there, and here's another one. It's starting to rain. Okay, so I see that I've got a little bit of a hole there. You see that? Keep turning your arrangement. If you have a Lazy Susan, or can pick one up inexpensively, that's a great way to make sure that, you know, that flowers, if you want to keep doing this, and Lazy Susan is a great way to, we kind of fight over them here. We only have about 3. It's like, you got to use it yesterday. My turn. I've got a big arrangement to make. Okay. So then we're going to use the little blue ageratum, which I have growing wild in my garden now. It's bizarre. But it's a pretty color. It's an accent color. Instead of the shape, it's more of an accent color. And you can see how orange with a little bit of purple or blue, there's just such wonderful complementary colors. Generally what we like to do is to keep the range of colors in an arrangement fairly simple. We don't use white and red and orange and yellow and blue and purple all together because it just looks like a hot mess. What we try to do is to choose a color and then use varying shades of that and then do an accent color that kind of sets it off. Or you can also do it in a monochromatic way, that all flowers are orange in different shades, which is nice. I just like having a little accent in there as well. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to use the rest of the buds of the Lisianthus, and I'm going to take off this wimpy little one, and I'm going to put it here. So what I invite you to do is to, the little one that was sticking out, the little zinnia, I'm going to cut it down because it was annoying me.
People are still trying to catch up.
Oh, that's fine. There's no hurry. So,
Have you already talked about spinning your arrangement?
many times.
Okay.
But here we go. Remember just to keep turning it. Oh, look, I found another ageratum. Wonderful. So I'll put this down here. Oh, we're getting thunder. I don't know if you're getting thunder where you live, but it's kind of exciting. Okay. So, I know that, some of you might want to catch up, so take your time. Don't feel rushed. Don't cut them too short.
If anyone has questions.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, you can type them in to the comments section. Is that right? At the bottom of the page. So, this one up here. We've had so many brides this year disappointed because they can't have the wedding of their dreams, but we have done an amazing assortment of small backyard weddings, 15 to 20 people, and they've been beautiful. I know it's not what the girls were expecting, but we're all doing our part to get through this together. And it's been a joy to work with them, and hopefully they'll be able to have a big party next year. So just take this time to look at your arrangement. You can move things around if you want. If you say, I don't like where that ended up, I think I'll move it over here. Make sure that the greens are doing what you want them to do. I hope you can see this well.
Debbie's wondering if you grow your own flowers, probably for the flower shop.
Yeah, I do not know.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Do I grow my own flowers? No, I wish I did, but I don't. We have a lot of squirrels, rabbits, and deer, a lot of wildlife in the yard, and there's just no way. I also just don't have the time. I used to have a really wonderful garden, and it's there. It's just a little untended because you get busy, and the weeds take over. And
What are the small roses you put in?
the small roses.
They might be referring to the Lysianthus.
Yes, the Lysianthus. It kind of looks like an open rose. It's this flower, and it has those thin stems and the little interesting buds. That's called Lysianthus.
Somebody got some sedum in theirs. Should they use that like greenery, or should they use that as a flower?
Sedum. Wow. Okay. I would use it as a flower because sedum is nice and big and usually round, so it could take the place of a dahlia or a zinnia or something like that. The different flowers have different shapes. Some of them are elongated, and those are nice for certain things. Some are big and round, but you probably don't want to make an arrangement of all round flowers because it's just going to be a little boring. So you want to get some that have texture like that, some that have buds, some that are sort of fuzzy, nice textures, some that are big and bold, and it makes a difference when you kind of take your time and look to see that you've got texture, the colors are right, and it's put together pretty well. I'll have a sip of wine now. Thank you. Cheers to you. Wish you were here. So as I mentioned before, we're going to try to do a class at the holidays. We used to try to do them every 6 weeks or so. And we'll see how, how this one went, and hopefully this is fun. It's probably not quite as fun as all getting together and, drinking wine. But until there's a vaccine, until we're all, not wearing masks anymore. I was just seeing if there was anything else that I needed to tell you. If you
Holidays yet, like open house?
Oh yes, the open house. Every year we have a big open house, usually the first Thursday of November, and like 300 people come or something, and it's really fun. can't do that this year because of COVID. So the way we're planning to do it this year is to still have everything ready to go on November, whatever it is, 3rd, 4th, 5th. It's the Thursday after Election Day, and who can forget Election Day? So we've started just kind of putting some stuff up, and we're going to invite people to come in small groups, you know, maybe 3 or 4 people at a time if you want to bring some friends. And we'll explain it all in an email, but we're going to ask that people make a reservation to come in for half an hour, 45 minutes, and then let the next group in. And no one wants to be in crowded spaces at this point, and so we're trying to respect everyone's desire to be safe and distant from one another, and we're asking people to wear masks when they come in the shop. We wear them all day long. I'm not wearing one now, and I feel so liberated because I'm pretty far away from there are only 2 other people here. So we do look forward to the open house, and we will decorate, but we were unable to go on our big buying trip this year in July. And we did go in January, though, before this all started, and so we do have a lot of beautiful Christmas things coming in. So hopefully you'll be able to stop in sometime after that. Stop in anytime. We're here every day, and actually we've been very busy, and we so appreciate the support of the community because people have been sending flowers, receiving flowers, and it's kept us afloat, and we really appreciate it. So how does your arrangement look? Is everybody pretty much done with it? Send us comments.
Nancy said this is delightful. It's just a different kind of fun. Kathleen said, Robin, you are our Cincinnati Martha Stewart.
Oh.
We love you. Chelsea said this was so much fun.
Oh, good. Good.
But if anyone has questions.
If anyone has any other questions, feel free. You can always come in to the shop too and get cut flowers if you want, because it is difficult to find the more interesting flowers, and it's especially hard to find interesting greens at supermarkets. This is just a very small sampling. We were trying to start small and simple tonight, but we have loads of different kinds of greens. We get boxes from Holland every week with all kinds of interesting things in them, and the farmers are coming, and so we do search high and low for unusual flowers, unusual greens, pods, berries, that kind of thing. We got a whole box of rose hips today. Sade, would you go get a piece of the rose hip? I'm just gonna show them because we got a notice from one of our suppliers that, hey, someone in the Midwest has rose hips. Do you want a box of them? And so you have to buy 100 at a time. We said, yes, we want rose hips. We'll do something with them. So I'll just show you what if we had some rose hips to put in here. Or just any kind of berries. Hypericum berries are nice. Viburnum makes wonderful berries if you have any viburnum, especially the blueberry viburnum. So now sometimes rose hips have hideous thorns on them. I think these have been pretty much dethorned. But this is the seed after wild roses bloom, and they make hips, rose hips, which have a ton of vitamin C in them. And so sometimes the extract from these is used to treat colds and vitamin C deficiency. So you do want to be careful though, because if there are thorns in these, I'm sorry you don't have any of these in your bucket. I'm just showing you that we have a lot of them. So come get some. And we're going to just put this in as another little accent. Would you get me a can of spray of oil? I'm just going to, sometimes if we spray something with this can of, it's really like Pam for flowers, and it brightens up the color in some things. Thank you. So these are, they're sort of a matte kind of look, and that's fine. But if you give them just a little bit of spray, suddenly they kind of come alive. And we're going to do those. So it's just another little, I call them doodads, another little doodad to put in your flower arrangement. So I think that hopefully you've made a lovely arrangement, and if you want to email us any of your pictures, we'd love to see them. And you could just send them to robin@robinwoodflowers.com and let us know if you think you'd be interested in doing this for the holidays. If you have any other questions, we are happy to answer them if you want to type them in.
We will be sending this out to everyone on the email.
Okay. Yeah, we will send out, we're going to send out the recorded version of this so that if you know, not that we did anything terribly complicated, but if you want to look at it again and kind of see about, remember the 45-degree angle, remember to make the greens look pretty before you put the flowers in. It's hard because everyone wants to put the flowers in, but put the greens in and be sure you have nice greens. Again, we have them here. You're welcome to stop in and buy a handful of greens. It doesn't, you know, you don't have to buy a ton of stuff, but sometimes that makes a difference in an arrangement.
Question.
Yes?
Becky's wondering, when do we add the plant food? Will your
Oh, okay. That's a good point. So what we say, if you want the flowers to last well, and we all do, is to change the water every day. The thing that kills flowers is the bacteria in the water, so it's very easy to do. I have a bucket here, so what I'm going to do is act like I have running water nearby. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to change the water. You just hold it underneath like this. It's not going to go anywhere. It's got tape and vine and might make a bit of a mess. And then you'd fill up the vase again, just under the faucet. And then at that point, you could put in some flower food. But I think the most valuable thing is changing the water every day. And when it's a small thing like this, it's not a problem. If you have a giant vase, yeah, it's a little more problematic. But, and keeping it clean and keeping it cool, that's another thing that will help it last. Because warm flowers are not happy flowers. So if you have a garage or something, you can put it in. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you'll join us again if we do it again. And I hope you're happy with your arrangements. And we love you all. We miss you. And we hope we get to see each other again soon. Okay, good night.